So should I say again that we have a forum? Okay.
That's not the official record. The audio tapes are never the official record.
So, with the agenda that we received, Kim sent around information, I think I got at least in my inbox from Glenn, I think, or someone, a training from League of Oregon Cities about urban renewal. It's sort of late in our process, but still might be good to get in May. Did everybody have a chance to look at it? I don't know enough about urban renewal to even know if the topics are relevant, but it sounded like it was urban renewal 101. Kim, do you know anything more about it?
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is, urban renewal. Lane Howard is one of who's one of the principals, is one of the, who's given it, is one of the knowledge experts in urban renewal.
I had trouble with the link, but I can just Google, I'm sure I can find it.
Well, I think, I don't have the flyer in front of me.
It was May 5th, I think.
Yeah, but I think that there was an individual registration when I went on to try to
Yeah.
register. And then there was a registration for up to 6 people. So how many of us are interested?
I've already,
It's the fourth, I think.
You already registered, but you already paid then?
no, not yet.
So, is everybody, Rick, are you interested, Valerie?
I think I'm gonna pass on this.
Pass,
Thank
okay.
you.
And we'll
Continue to look at it, and I hope somebody on the council.
Yeah, and we'll bring
becomes
back
expert.
the materials.
Is it the fourth,
I
maybe the
think
fourth?
so, because when,
Oh,
I
okay,
think it might be the fourth.
okay, thank you.
The 4th of May.
I think, okay.
So 1,
Yeah.
2,
Okay.
no, 3, 4.
I already signed up and paid.
But, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and maybe autumn, 5,
I can switch it from to 6. I
Yeah.
can switch it from,
whatever's more.
Yes.
1, 2, 3,
I'll switch
4,
to
5,
6.
6, yeah,
Okay, that's great.
yeah, okay.
Perfect.
So then, the rest of the agenda, as long as we want to take, is this continuing discussion about urban renewal project list. Last time, if you remember, we dedicated as our first priority all the money to go to the harbor restoration, but presuming that we're gonna get grant funds, that money will be freed up. So, it's in our best interest to prioritize for funding after that, what projects are our priority. And we had asked Kim and Brady to talk, update the
We
list.
kind of audit it, yeah,
Excuse me?
bit of auditing on this.
Yeah, updating it and figuring out what's already been done and that, so, Rick?
Thank you. I appreciate the audit and staying on top of this list. But I don't think that we should be spending too much time on it. I think what we should do is take every opportunity, all hands on deck for this harbor restoration project. We need to know the status of any applications or grants that are available so that we can determine whether or not we're gonna be able to meet these deadlines that are coming up. We had enough money to do a project just with the grant from the state. This gives us a much bigger project, and as I understand it, as I've been reading the record and the comments of Brady, we need to get a call for bids out now or as soon as possible, because there's a long process involved, and we have to get these funds committed. So I would like to say this, and finish with this, that we should be devoting our time to this. This is gonna be great, and as soon as we find out what we're gonna do on the harbor, then I think we should get into this. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I think we can still prioritize and give our number one ideas for improvements that are needed throughout town, and there's lots.
I don't think it would hurt anything to at least talk about it, we're not actively pursuing it, but at least we can see what the body of this council council has in mind.
And I agree with Joyce and Kathy, particularly since you have the grant writer folks on board and you can use your urban renewal funds as matching stuff. I agree that we should continue to work on prioritizing.
You're in agreement. I am too, and I don't think anybody disagrees with Rick that that's our priority, but that doesn't take away, I mean, really, urban renewal doesn't do the work for securing the grant. We've already dedicated it to the harbor, so I think that's good. And what we learned last time is that we can't really go out to bid until we've got the final permit sign off. So as soon as that happens, we can. So I think we should. So in terms of prioritization, so I think that in blue is what, when you call it audit, you mean update of what did you say, why did you say audit?
Oh, I just went through and updated and audited what is done, what is has already been completed,
Okay, you're
what needs to be
using
done and
the wrong-
prioritized.
Okay, but you're using the wrong word, audit means something completely different.
Yeah, as you requested, he went through to mark the things that were done.
Updated.
That were things that were done, and then focusing on, he made comments on this other stuff, but he also made some comments on what he thinks, and like some recent things that have happened that are more needed now. And I was just gonna excuse myself for a second to go get my folder, because some of the things that are not necessarily urban renewal, but if you're talking from a holistic approach, there's some infrastructure stuff that still needs to get done. Like, for example, the foundation of the water treatment plant. These are things that have been identified that are pretty priority, and I don't, was the foundation on there? If you just want to.
Some of it is, yeah.
Only urban renewal, that's important too.
Yeah.
But what I don't see on here is some of my other priorities that are not here, such as the, that parkland, south of, Tidal.
That hasn't been identified as an urban renewal project.
How do we get things identified?
You have to say you want to, and then you have to go through a process, which includes, I believe, updating the ordinances and stuff like that. So that's what I'm talking about, you know, because we've got these projects here, but we also have things that maybe should be in urban renewal, but they're not. It looks like to do it, you have to do a regular hearing to say, we want to add these things to the urban renewal project list.
Project list or district? Are you talking?
No, adding to the project list, it depends on, so what we have to do is what's in an urban renewal agency, or an urban renewal agency, the urban growth boundary, and I think it's probably the city plans is in there.
Yeah.
It's that whole stretch, so we don't have to do anything special with that, but to get it on, get your project list, you have to go through a process to get
So
it.
these were all written specifically into our project list for urban renewal?
Exactly, I took them right out of your urban renewal agency.
Wow. Okay,
Along with all their estimated costs from years ago.
wow.
So if you want anything new that's not been identified, we have to go through a process to add it. We can, it's not complicated.
Yeah, and that's what wasn't done, so I had to go through and like say, this was already completed and kind of added a little more information on what is exactly needed in the vague description.
Because if you look at parks and open spaces, you see there's nothing there, right? Harbor shouldn't be there, but, I mean, it kind of, but that parks and open spaces, there wasn't anything identified in the urban renewal agency for parks needing to be done in parks. Probably because they figured that's what the parks master plan is going for. I wasn't here when it was, I don't know.
Okay.
But that, pardon me, that's why those things are on there, because they're not part of their.
Go ahead, Kathy.
Brady, aren't there some things on Williams Avenue? I'm trying to remember that the DEQ was pressing us around for replacing water lines and things like that.
Yeah, they want to, well, so if we stay with Glen Eden, we have to upsize our sewer mains that
Oh,
carry
that's
the
right.
main fluid from Glen Eden, the shared system. And it's mainly a 15-inch line, it has to be increased to like a 30-inch line. To continue after, say, we probably have I mean, we're already at capacity when it rains really hard, a couple times a year in the harbor area, but they're gonna mandate if we have too many bypasses that they're gonna put the clamps on the city to make us upsize those lines.
So Williams is not in the urban renewal available now.
Yes, it is, I think it is.
We'd have to,
I don't know, is it on the project list?
No,
no, that isn't, but a lot of that, what is the capacity and some of that current engineering study was after this was created. This was created like in the 2010s.
Okay.
So I wonder, do you remember the rate study that we had done?
Yeah,
That rate study, I think, would be a good thing for all of us to relook at, because they went through specific projects, projecting specific projects in order to adjust.
right, and they went
The
off
sewer
our master plan, that was off our master plan of like
Yeah,
another water tank, all the water mains downtown. Some of that is integrated into this also as the same thing. But some of these fell into the master plan ideas of the big picture, but also was in the district, and that's why this was created. But again, this needed to be gone through and updated, big time.
yeah.
And like Fran's saying, maybe we can add to it if we identify things that we wanna bring this up, so maybe that's a project for sure to identify what we can bring it all up today.
I would like to resurrect the rate study and just look at it one more time.
I said that in the master plan. All the pieces.
So the urban renewal plan does mention some public parks and open spaces as some ideas of things to do, but when it came down to actually listing the items as projects, they didn't list it. So it might be a matter of just getting that updated on that. And so there's certain, like, for example, the Langston, if you're looking at it fine, there's certain steps we have to do. Private property within the renewal district shall not be taken by eminent domain. So we can do that as
With this one,
with this one, right? So I think maybe it is helpful to throw everything out there and say, what do you want to accomplish? And then I can look at it from the standpoint is, can it be accomplished through the urban renewal plan, or do we have to go outside of it? Like, for example, the eminent domain, if we want to part of that property that way. I haven't studied this in depth yet.
and what about, is William Street in there and we just have to include it on the project list then?
Yeah,
They gave me-
it appears to,
Remember, it's not the urban, it's not just, the urban growth boundary is not the same thing as the urban renewal.
No,
Right,
Right, it's very different, so I don't know if you're looking at the full urban growth boundary or just the urban renewal.
Oh, that
I'm
map
looking
right
at the
behind
urban
you,
renewal.
that's urban
plan.
renewal district.
That's the urban renewal?
Yeah.
It doesn't show Williams on there, but a good just a portion of that line upgrade
Oh, it's
is
the
on
green,
Williams.
it's the.
Yeah, it's the dark green, yeah.
Okay, I got
It shows the main corridor, but some of those lots,
it. Scenic lanes, is it in it?
no, it's not.
Sure isn't.
That's why we had the parking lot on Vista was a urban renewal, had to be removed because it wasn't in the.
Okay, yeah.
But they did extend it, so there's a way to extend and add to
Yeah, you can
that.
add to the, you can add to the.
Because of the,
urban- you can add
remember the
to this.
Whale Inn Motel?
Yeah.
It wasn't, it was already started, so they were able to extend it into that and get that light cleaned up, that motel refurbished.
It actually wasn't even within the boundaries when that project started, that's
No.
interesting.
But you know, we're talking about what, 1.2 million, 1.2 million, what was it, we decided how much we had, that only went for a few more years, 5 more years. So it's, unless we can renew the urban renewal district, it seems like any one of these projects might take the money. So maybe we should hear from Brady about his first priority, and then we can also go back and, you know, it might not be worth adding things if we're not gonna be able to do them anyway.
I would like to add that we can extend the urban renewal plan.
We can. But if we haven't, if we've expended all the money, we can do.
You have to do a new one, a new vote though, right? Just like the guys from the college came and talked to us about it, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
It's always a process.
Yeah, I don't think.
Nothing is final.
Well, that's good.
Pretty much, in some, well, I can't say that for sure, because sometimes something's hard.
So Brady, what was your first and second priority here?
So one was that we just identified one a few weeks ago when we went to tap the property down here on the water main that runs down Shell Avenue to the park from City Hall here. That when the guy went to tap the line is very, very soft and brittle, and the integrity is failing. So we really need to get, even if we get the line in the ground, I know Mr. Hutnall, is gonna do a bunch of upgrades. And we're gonna tentatively put a sidewalk in. Now, I know that grant failed, but we could put our sidewalk in from City Hall to, say, South 40th Street. And at that point, we could put water line in the ground. Even if we put line in the ground, and seal it as we put it in phases, we don't have to like install the whole line and put it in. We could at least put it in and then tie it in at a later time, like disinfection and chlorine and stuff. But at least we should get it in the ground while we're doing construction. And that would just be the cost of maybe, I don't know about urban renewal, but we should get it in the budget this coming year.
And how much is that? Do you think?
It would probably be a $40,000 water line project, just for material. If we just, if we purchase the material and have a contractor put it in, it'd be somewhere around 40,000.
Is that AC?
That's currently here now, yeah.
Can you get that pipe?
We can't get that amount of pipe. Yeah, it's when you want like hundreds of yards of pipe, it's hard to get, but hundreds of feet you can't.
Does it just go like to the fire hydrant or does it
It's
continue
about from
on?
right out front here to the fire hydrant, it's all bent over, beat up
Yeah.
down there, yeah, about to that point.
Okay,
That would get us through because we can't add from there through the park, across the creek and up through Bayview, towards Winchell in phases. But this part right now is really bad going up the hillside. I think it's because a lot of the groundwater and the age of the pipe. And it's quite shallow. And we have fixed it several times, but I didn't realize how bad it was, so I just got to look at it last week.
and is that a main considered or?
Yeah,
It's
it is a main feeder too. It's the only line that feeds from the park to all of the neighborhoods of Indian Trail.
Oh,
And there is a loop system it's a 2-inch that runs through that new storage unit complex that's going in. There's a 2-inch that ties that in as a loop system, but that wouldn't feed the volume that those
there's
folks
a lot
need.
into that, okay,
I
so that's a
have a
main,
question.
okay.
So is that on the engineer's list to take a look at?
Yes,
The new guy?
yes, it's on John. John's got a very long running list, but yeah, that's definitely one of them to replace that. And it would be fairly easy due to the fact that there's not a lot of, there's one connection at South 40 and one fire hydrant and the line that feeds the condos. Other than that, it's just pretty straight line. So I think that's something that we probably should have done before we let it get this bad, but it wasn't identified as a bad line until just last week.
So that's your number one, but that's,
So
it doesn't have to be.
Collins right now is on board to move forward with getting material for, I don't know if we'll get Collins done this budget, but we're purchasing all that material for Collins to.
Is this upgrade the 8-inch water line from Collins Street to Bridge? Which one is that?
That's,
Or is that from your existing budget?
yeah, that's just on which we haven't, that's not that bad. That's from the bridge to, which one are you talking about? Dunn Coast, is that?
Which one?
Once
What
you
I'm
get the
trying to
foreground
figure out is what you're talking about, Brady.
He's
Oh,
talking about
Collins.
Shell Avenue, or
Yeah,
you're
I'm
talking about Collins is
Collins.
not
Collins
on
is
this
not.
list, it's not.
Collins is not.
But I was just saying, what you asked what my priority is, but the priority on this list is that
It's
one I
Shell Avenue.
identified.
Okay.
Right, and he doesn't have it unless he hasn't marked a second, so I don't know.
And I could prioritize these, I was just kind of, that's why I kind of call it auditing, because I was removing what was done and what doesn't need to be there and so on.
Well,
But,
I really wanna know what your top priorities are.
Yes,
so really, it's gonna be Collins Street and then possibly some of the sewer, line upgrades.
He needs Shell. He's saying Collins, but he needs Shell.
After columns,
After
I keep
columns.
seeing after columns on
Okay.
there, but that, yeah.
For this purposes, he needs shall. Collins is
Out there.
not there.
It's not within this.
Yeah, Collins, it's on this one budget right now. So
Should be
for
the
him,
rest
for this project, it's shall, and then you wanna look at what other things you might wanna do from here that's more, or anything is of a high priority.
Yeah,
Joyce had a question?
Oh, I was just going to, I just wanted clarification on what's it mean by Collins, is all. Please, can you clarify that?
Alright.
That's okay.
We can talk about that when we do the council meeting, because that's not this project, it's not related to, it's on the current capital.
yeah, it's jumping around, I'm sorry.
Now, one thing I did notice, that foundation, Brady, the water
Yeah, the
plant
water
spending, that is actually under the water plant, the foundation of the water plant. The guys were talking, that's part of the one things that they really wanna get done, and it does look like.
It does say expand the water
That,
plant.
that one that's in process, so
Where
we
are
use
we
that.
looking? On right below Shell Avenue,
Third from the
on
bottom,
sewer,
on the front
and
page,
it says
says
in
water plant.
process, but I'm not sure what you meant by that.
It's in
Parts of
the,
it are,
Well, it says expand.
right, which is, they
We're
explained
lo-
that to me, that's the foundation, and.
well, that and we're upsizing the filters, so we're expanding the filter size. And then we're also, repairing the foundation under the filters.
Is
So
that
that
something we could potentially get a grant for and like maybe have matching funds come from this?
Possibly.
possibly, it was in this year's budget, but, it was just for engineering. And that's really what we're targeting is engineering and drawings this year. We're trying to get those done for a number to push into next budget, but it would be good if we could have next budget and also possible urban renewal help for the water plant. So once that engineering is complete, we can get, identify the costs.
Good.
So that would really be our number 2
Okay.
priority.
And that's what I'm wondering why I saw it there.
Yeah.
The water, Paul from Water expressed his concerns about the water treatment and getting this.
So it seems to me that the water plant, well, actually, I don't know. One of the things I was hoping is that we could determine if what needed to be paid for by urban renewal of our priorities and what could be paid for by transient room tax funds or other. So the water plant, since it's so essential, probably could be, I don't know if Shell except it goes to the harbor, probably could as well. So maybe both sources could be used for both those projects, right? Like for budget as well as urban renewal. And then good.
Ballpark budget on the water plant work?
Probably, I'm thinking $250,000.
That's what I was
Probably
thinking, they said
250,000.
250, I thought Paul said 250.
I think we had 200 in the budget this year for the foundation work.
Yeah.
We already did.
Are we gonna get it done?
I don't think.
Not this year. We're
So-
gonna get the engineering done and we've used a lot of that for not redundancy, but for repairing stuff that has broke.
So you spend the money, which is.
We did not spend the money. A lot of it's there about,
Roll it over?
but some of it has been used for, I'm trying to find the word,
Well, you've had a lot of lift station, or a lot of pumps go out.
yeah. But we usually have a fund for things that break and.
Contingency?
Contingency, that's what the funds have been used for, yeah, thank you. But not all of them, I mean, probably just out of that large, I don't know, we could update our water, fund balance, but, a lot of it's still there, but we still haven't had a bill for the engineering yet, and the drawings, which is what we're trying to get done at least by June, just for the water plant.
So, Randy, is most of your priority then for water, it's looking that way?
Yeah,
Okay.
so, yeah,
And sewer, like for example, their catwalk needs to be replaced, it's in terrible condition, and I sent that the guys found out the drawings and the images to me this week, and I sent them off to John to take a look at. So we get that re-entered, we don't know what the cost is gonna be on that, so, so that's a pretty major deal for them. I think they have some lab equipment involved with this, but that's a different thing, you know, if you're looking at what they need, it's equipment that has failed. And these are not, of course they're not, these are not cheap pieces of equipment. So, like
Turbine.
I'm saying that word, like two of them, you know.
Turbine
So, anyway,
This, we had to replace the bench turbine emitter, it was like 5,000 plus.
So it seems that Highway 101 is in here because we have things like in the first segment, view up from the bottom, we construct sidewalks on west side. So it has to be within the urban.
It's on there, but it only goes.
Yeah, the corridor is, but the properties
on the other,
west
other
of
side.
the ODOT right of way is
Oh,
not.
yeah.
So ODOT in the right of way seems to be identified.
highway 101 and the sidewalks right next to the other side of that is not.
And that is because the area has to all be connected together, so Larry did the map based on what we identified as the properties.
Yeah.
It has to all be one
Contiguous.
contiguous, is the
Okay.
word I was looking for.
And tie together, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, so this is interesting, somebody mentioned, you know, matching grants, I mean, I'm interested in getting, you know, more accessibility, handicapped accessibility on 101, you know, that Harmony with road cuts and the Sunset Harmony and get the utility poles, so some of those are in here. And again, if there is funding after the harbor project and after the priority water projects, I'd like to see, unless we can get the parks in there, I'd like to see the highway sidewalk improvements done, they shouldn't be that expensive. At least that'd be one of my priorities. Do people are ready to, I know we haven't seen the updated list, but do people have ideas for their priorities?
Well, the two that I have for highways would be the second one down, widen existing sidewalk, and then the second one from the bottom, reconstruct sidewalk on the west side.
Yeah, need ramps, we really need ramps, sidewalk ramps.
Pardon me, Counselor, which ones did you say on that?
The second one from the bottom.
Oh.
And the second one from down from the top,
On the first one, the streets.
under street.
Oh, okay, I'm looking at the bottom, it says citywide utilities.
And that's where the two I was talking about, go ahead.
So that's-
Second one from the bottom,
And the second one from the top.
second one from the top.
So my question on sidewalks and
Is it
everything.
on right now?
Do we have to include ODOT in this?
Oh, I guess it's not that far away. It's just-
Hey, could you
I can-
mute your microphone, please?
I got it. I took care of it. Oh, absolutely, we'll have to get ODOT involved. It's their highway,
I know.
so we'll have to figure out when we know what we wanna do.
Well, the grants that are out there are from ODOT right now,
absolutely,
so,
yeah.
but we might need matching funds.
Right.
Go ahead, Joyce.
Fran, it might be advantageous just to go around to see who likes what. and
Yeah,
just
that's-
kind of
that's-
mark it.
Good,
Yeah.
let's do that. Is everybody ready to express their opinion?
My number one is water and getting that all done. We've just gotta, that's been put off for too long and now we're,
So the Shell Lab and the water plant,
yeah,
both of those.
and calling, or, yeah, those are the main. Gotta get those done.
I'll go next.
Mhm.
Mine would be pedestrian safety, sidewalks, all that encompasses that. I agree with what Fran and Joyce said, and then just in general, pedestrian safety is a big issue people face.
It is,
Yeah,
absolutely.
it's at the top of the list.
Was there a crosswalk?
Yeah, on the last page, public safety improvements, improve pedestrian safety on bridge. What is the next I mean, mine goes beyond the bridge, of course, but that's one place on here where it's listed specifically.
I thought there was a crosswalk in this first.
Yeah,
part.
there is,
Where is that? Bay
right
Street?
under, on the streets, there's a highway 101 approved crosswalks at Bay Street.
Well,
It's got the,
Oh, and the
improved
very first
pedestrian
one.
safety.
Yeah.
Oh,
There's a crosswalk there, and then there was also the one for the post,
by the post office,
there's
yeah.
two of them, so.
And one of them was
The
done.
one at Bay Street,
The neighbor's supposed to have something.
Yeah, this reconfigure highway lanes, that was our south of the bridge project that we pretty much dumped, so I'm not sure we want that back on here. I'm not sure where the crosswalks were, I thought there was supposed to be one up by, oh, crosswalk improvements for the bridge south to Schoolhouse Street, that was 1, 2, 3, 4 down, so I don't know. So that's one crosswalk, the other one was Bay Street, and where's the third?
like where, the third was in front of the post office, where was that?
These guys,
That's done.
Okay,
But so because a general plan goal is increased pedestrian safety,
Yeah,
could, I mean,
it's the second one down.
you're looking at this side of town, right?
I mean,
If there's none on this side.
Yeah.
So just because that, there's a general increased pedestrian safety, could you justify?
well, there's a crosswalk here on the third one down, that could be both. But that again was part of the South End Bridge project, but we could pull an element out.
Yeah, you're right.
Not specifically, maybe you can be a good shot.
To put it myself.
Yeah, like right here at Schoolhouse.
I don't know if that's me being selfish, because I live right there. I'm not sure.
Well, that's where the gas station is, that's where people.
Yeah, there's nothing on most of the town.
But there's no, is there a sidewalk on the other side of the street to get people, that's a problem, yeah.
No, but, I mean, it's being used anyway.
Oh, yeah.
It seems like it's probably more important to have one on this, near the bridge, where people are dashing across all the time.
On the south end of the bridge.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would settle for that.
Somewhere by the,
You go from the
Thai place.
Mexican restaurant.
yeah, or the Thai place,
Yeah.
something
Like
like
in
that.
between the top shop and the Thai place.
Yeah, but is that on here? Well, I guess this was all
That would be
within the
part of
third,
that, yeah.
third one, fourth one down.
Yeah, all part of increasing pedestrian safety under the plan goals.
Anybody else ready to say anything?
Well, I'll say that I'm for the really sexy stuff like sewer and water, and I'm with the mayor. One thing I would say about the public safety improvements, pedestrian safety, what I'd like to see is to get this young deputy on these drivers around here, that are really dangerous for pedestrians. And I think that'll be the number one improvement that will occur, and we don't even have to dig any ground to make that happen. Thank you.
So any specific sewer goals here?
I'm sorry.
Any specific of the sewer?
Well, Brady, did you list these in priority?
Sort of, yeah, I mean, the, as far as the sewer goes,
Priority needs?
yeah, the, main that runs through, you know, Highway 101, upgrade sewer lines from Shell Avenue, south to 10th Street, that needs to be, upsized. We were able to do Shell Avenue. And then the one on Bay Street, the number 2 is, that line is like 20 feet below the surface from the intersection. And you would have to upsize that line, it's in solid rock, you'd have to get a tunnel boring machine, it costs a bunch of money you'd almost have to bore a tunnel from probably 25 feet down, 4 feet around, all the way to the community hall.
So how are you gonna fix that? How are you gonna repair that line?
You'd have, I mean, if it broke right now or something, it's chances of it breaking, there's not there, but chances of it being to capacity would be.
I can tell you what
Because
happens,
the
it'd
city
be in
in
my
a
living
trough
room,
of
that's
solid
what would
rock.
happen.
It sits in a trough of solid rock.
But that's the reason we're getting rid of the Glen Beach Sanitary
Yeah.
District, right?
So what we could do with that line is slip line it. And then it would last for, if we didn't have the flow, say if you took 1,000 gallons a minute off, it'd last you another 40, 50 years plus.
Oh, thank God. Good news.
And then you could just slip line it with plastic and then not have to worry about it.
If you have,
But if you had to upgrade it, it would be in the millions.
you had prices in here, on the last sheet, and you took them out. Because they were so old, is that what?
That I'm not sure.
I took them out since, it seemed the consensus where they weren't really needed, but I can always put them back in.
I think they need to be engineered
But
and
they're old
updated.
prices,
They were
so
2010.
Yeah, that's what they were.
Well, it gave you
Just
some
give them
idea,
back
though,
Yeah.
you know.
So first, Brady, is your Highway 101, your second would be slip lining Bay Street?
Possibly, yes, exactly, yeah. And then continue Bay Street through, to, the harbor. Which, that kind of should be continued, it should say Bay Street to Harbor Lift Station,
Bay Street Harbor.
yeah. Which it turns at the community hall, goes down to by docks 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then crosses the creek to Harbor Pump Station, and then there's large 100-horse pumps that pumps that up Shell Street right here to this intersection, then it has gravity from there to the plant. In a 16-inch line.
Assuming that we'll have to keep letting on until they, for more than the end of the term period. What's the impact is that gonna have on there? Like, say we have to keep them on a little bit longer because
Yeah.
we have to support them because they don't have anything.
We could keep the size of the line, but we'd have to really do is get very frugal with our I&I control. Which we are doing, we just need to really keep them on board with that and ourselves.
Yeah.
And if we do that, that buys us several years. But if we don't, and things just keep growing and we don't address the I&I, then that's where we get to capacity, we start bypassing, the harbor, it's into stored crab, it gets very expensive, the liability is just not even fathomable.
Sure. This discussion makes me think of something, makes me think of revenues. And since our budget is about to be rapidly depleted, like on urban renewal, if we could secure a new line of $1 million a year in revenue, and I'm convinced that we can, all we have to do is enforce some rules that are on the books and bring our revenues in line. This city certainly has the ability to produce that and recover that kind of revenue. And if we did $1 million a year, now I'm not seeing the figures that were on here the last time, but I remember that these figures were like 2.1 million, 4.5 million, and so on.
Yeah.
And over the course of 10 years, if you brought in $10 million, you could really move some of these projects into the completed list. And I think that's what we have to do. We can't continue to rely on grants that are, difficult to get. When we have everything we need at our fingertips, and this is a discussion I think we should have, especially in urban renewal meeting.
This one still has some of the old numbers on It's just old scratch notes.
Yeah.
What we're talking
Might
about.
have.
We need copies of those and update the next one.
Well,
I
have it.
I was
Okay,
ever
alright.
passed out one with the numbers on
He
it.
said he has it.
Good, so my list is pretty much already been mentioned, Bay Street is more pedestrian friendly Bay Street. Future projects, the lease is up at the fish plant in 2024, I think. And I don't know what the status of that's gonna be, we may wanna be prepared to look at some improvements on that amazing piece of property that could make it more financially beneficial to the city.
But that,
So that would be,
it
it is in the district
Yeah.
and it would qualify for funds.
Do we have this on?
It's not, that's when we talked about adding projects.
Yeah.
that, like,
Okay, good. Yeah, good.
Is the Bay Street pedestrian not in here?
The Bay Street is in here, Bay Street is the third one, I think, street improvements with new sidewalks. That third thing under streets,
Under streets, it's at the bottom, place crosswalks at Main Street.
No, the third one down.
it's in there twice.
See the third one down?
And then it also
Yeah, like where
like
the-
continues on there.
Yes, yeah, definitely, yes, I just didn't know where it was here.
So it's here twice.
There's no.
Well, one is like Highway 101 crosswalks, and this is like the lane with
This is the highway 101. Oh.
Yeah, this is like the lane with the down.
This is what they want.
This
third
to
one
Indian
down
Street.
there.
This is the one
I
that
see
goes
the
all
third
the
one
way
down.
down.
I see
there.
it.
It's also highway one, it's also listed improved crosswalks at Bay
Yes.
Street.
So Brady says the highway 101 is the highway 101, whereas the other one that's Main Street is just
Continues
that's
to
the
Community Hall.
That's the difference.
Good,
So this means from, Valerie clarified, from the light all the way down to the community center.
Yeah,
It's very narrow road.
Which is- yeah, including maybe a wheelchair
Yeah. and-
or ADA ramp at the
Yeah.
community hall.
Don't access.
So what I think we have is at least some winnowing down of this, and what it seems like to me is that we should forward these 5, 8 that we came up with, I mean, I took notes, to our grant writers, because they have so much, and we've not, other than the harbor, we haven't told them what we really want them to be looking at. Is that correct, Kim?
And they will ask you, well, what projects do you have? I can give them this list, but they need to know the narratives. Remember, we had that workshop, and it's not enough just to give them the ideas, because they can find the grants for these right away, but we need a lot of details.
Well, we need them to find the grants and then we'll provide the details. It's chicken and egg.
But if you have a grant that has a short time frame and you wanna do a project and you don't have the details, we're not gonna be able to.
But we're not gonna develop the details because we're so busy unless we know we can pursue it.
I can certainly send the list, and then I will let you know what they say.
Wait, we're getting a grant to develop it.
Yeah,
So
there
all
are-
of-
there are a
like
lot of
the
planning
sidewalk,
grants.
like to design the sidewalk along
There
Main Street.
are planning grants.
Right.
There are planning grants.
Yeah. Rick?
Well, I just want to remind everybody, thank you. I want to remind everybody that we are having difficulty getting grants because we don't have our audits and our paperwork done.
Some are, maybe,
Some,
mostly, yeah.
some, but we don't know specifically what's going on. We need to hear from these grant writers, how big of a hurdle this is for us,
Well,
before we waste any time.
I'm sure they'll tell us on certain ones there are not, so when they identify the grants, they can maybe tell us good.
Okay, moving along, if you ever need help writing, like a little bit of descriptive stuff to package this with to give them, I'm more than happy to help with that. So I think we could offer more help if you want it. I mean, if what they need is more narrative, you can talk about the project details, work with Brady, get more info, and package it and send it to them if that's what they need.
And I can help as well.
And
I just
grant.
don't think, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we certainly don't need to do the grant application process of writing. But yes, if it needs to be more flowery to where they get what we're asking for, we can certainly do that.
I think you can try.
Well, they work for us, Kim.
I'm not arguing that.
Yeah.
I'm not arguing that, but what they're telling me is they can't take water from stone. They don't have the estimate. I'm looking at the port grant right now. I'm working on that with
Sure.
them. And the questions they're asking, and a lot of them, they have to have community support. They have to have, even when we did the congressional study, we had to do letters of support. We had to do all of that. They want that to apply for grants. Even planning grants will require some degree of that. So what I could do, if you'd like, is send the list to the grant writers and say, the council is very interested in pursuing grants in these areas. Can you steer us? And then what they can do is they can say, okay, here's some grants that are coming up, and you can look at them and decide and see how much you'll need to provide and whether it's something that you can do.
Okay, well, that's fair.
Does that sound fair?
Yeah, because there is a slight narrative, there might be more in the urban renewal plan. But to me, I've written many grants, and I'm not their expertise. But widen existing sidewalks on the west side of Highway 101 from Harmony Street south to Sunset Street. I could write a grant application with that. Yes, there will be details, but we are the community. This is community support, and we can get letters, but I don't see those things as obstacles. I'm not angry at you, I'm angry at them for putting up barriers that I don't believe exist.
And I'm not trying to fight you on this, I really am not. I am concerned about our workload, including Brady's, that in his ability to get this information for you that they need. We're going into budget season right now, and I got worried about our audit, so we're gonna be pretty busy. I'm worried about that. It's not why I'm not trying to push back on that. If you guys, I think maybe that's, if you're okay with doing it that way, we'll at least take that first step and see where we can get from there. And then we'll know, I guess, maybe more about what we really need.
Exactly.
Tell us what more information.
Right.
What we tell us what grants are out there.
Right.
Yeah, we can do, they should be able to do that. And I can actually even do that to some extent because I get all the notices. So.
No, they should,
But they can do that.
They could do that. So, I think I have enough information, I can, relay it to Kim, I know she was taking notes about what we said as our priorities, so. All right, so do we need I don't think we need an urban renewal meeting next meeting, but maybe the first of, May? Are we already in May?
Is that
Yeah, May,
May.
is that okay?
Sure.
And,
May 1st is the.
Right before the next council meeting?
yeah,
Okay, so
Yeah,
that would be
May
May 2nd?
okay.
Okay, question? Okay, the last meeting of the Urban Renewal Commission, we determined that we were gonna take the balance of the fund, $1.2 million, I recall, and apply that to the harbor. And unless we determined that we would get a grant, or we were notified that we are receiving a grant. So do we have any deadlines in mind? Because this thing feels to me, and you don't have to make me feel comfortable about it, but it feels to me very open-ended, that we don't have any timelines, we don't have any deadlines, when are we gonna move forward on this project?
Well, I think, you're right, it's hard because we won't know unless we do get a grant in hand when we can free up the other money. But I think it has already helped us say, here are our priorities, which we didn't have 15, 20 things. Now we have 8. And now we can say to our grant writers, and I think even if it doesn't come out of urban renewals, if we see a grant opportunity and it's a priority, then providing there's enough staff time and enough volunteer efforts, we can put one together. So I don't think, and the reason we come back in May, I think, is to get some feedback from the grant writers. And if there is a deadline and we won't have urban renewal funds because we don't know about the harbor yet, then we have to decide what to do. But I think it's reasonable. It could be a short meeting if we don't have any information.
Final question.
Yeah.
We heard tonight from staff, that staff doesn't have a lot of time for this. So is it going to be the council volunteers that step forward that coordinate this? Or how much, or, I'm worried about our staff putting this on.
Well, that's something we'll have to look at, and I think we do have some contract dollars in our budget, plus we now have an engineer on board. So especially if we get the planning grants, we can maybe use our existing staff. Kim, do you have any other insights?
We can definitely be the point, the coordinating,
Yeah.
it's getting the support once we know what we wanna do and with the data, kind of like you were helping. We got that community stuff for the grant,
Yeah.
that sort of stuff, getting the support letters, things like that. We can keep that going, it's just doing a lot of the legwork is where the challenge is. Cause it takes time and, we can just give estimates, but we can keep things going if we have these.
No.
Yes.
Have we done, as the Urban Renewal Board, have we done everything we need to be able to move into budget? Or do you need something more formal from us about the money being, set aside for the harbors?
I think we have that formal
Sorry,
thing, so we'll do that. I actually am not really sure how to position that in the budget, so I did speak to our auditor today. Whoa! And I'm gonna send him some questions, and he said it would be helpful, he would help me, so that will be one of the questions, how I show that in the budget. Cause I'm really not sure, not really sure how we do that. We wanna earmark it, but then we don't wanna give it away, maybe if we wanna be able to have it back, if
Right.
we do it.
Okay, any other questions we can adjourn before the next meeting? Thank you all.
Thank you, thanks.
You're doing good.